Seniors, week 2, ACT. Last week, I gave you 5 different tips. I want to reiterate a couple of those for you right now because they still apply. The number one rule of the ACT is to always go with the shortest answer when all answers basically mean the same thing. And the second thing, watch out for redundancies, okay? If any information is repeated, ACT will be looking for you to get rid of that. Now, the way I have things set up in Schoology, you can take these ACT passages up to 3 times. Many of you are probably stars. You take it once, you're good to go. But for those of you who are struggling a little bit, take it the 3 times and use this tip. Here it comes. That could not have gone any slower than it did right there. Well done. All right, your hot tip is this. So here's an example of what you might see on the ACT. Mr. Lambert is A, mean, B, pretty mean, C, pretty, D, pretty doesn't begin to describe such a specimen. So let's say you got this one on the test, and you're thinking he's been mean to me, so I'm going to go with A, mean. Then you're going to find that's not true at all. It's going to be wrong. The next time, the second time you take this ACT passage, maybe you go with pretty mean, because you know mean's not it for sure. You're down to 3 choices. You put pretty mean, you're also going to get that mark wrong. So when you get to your third and final time, you've only got 2 things to choose from, pretty, and pretty doesn't begin to describe such a specimen. That's a tough choice, and I'm not going to tell you what the answer is, but it's a 50-50 shot even if you guess. So this week, your tips are all going to be punctuation related, and I'm only going to give you 3 of them to try to keep it simple for you. The first one's apostrophes. Now, you all know that apostrophes are mainly for showing possession, right? So singular words like girl, it's the girl's book. That's pretty simple. Herb Brooks is kind of a strange one because his name ends in S, but the rule's still the same. You're going to say Herb Brooks's legacy. Is there an exception to this rule? There is, but I'm not going to tell it to you because it won't appear on the ACT, and you don't ever need to know it. Sometimes we have plural words that end in S, most of the time actually, like players, or Vikings, or parents. And if you got more than one parent and they own that house together, it's parents S apostrophe. It's Vikings S apostrophe, players S apostrophe. If the word ends in S, you just throw the little apostrophe right there at the end of it. However, if the plural word doesn't end in S, like men or women or children, you put an apostrophe S. Remember this too. The dog eats its food. It's, if you put an apostrophe in it, it's a contraction, so it means it is. You wouldn't say the dog eats it is food. So when you're showing possession with its, no apostrophe at all. The second punctuation I want to talk about, and I never teach this in class because I think it's just practically useless, is the dash. You see it sometimes, and I can't say 100% of the time, but most times if you see it on the ACT, it's not correct. It's just there to distract you or to be a wrong answer. It has 2 uses. One of those is for an abrupt change of thought in a sentence. And the thing is, most of the time you don't write these kinds of sentences, you say them. My favorite baseball player, he was the first African-American player in the Major League, is Jackie Robinson. Yeah, we have those sorts of thoughts where we just suddenly think of something and then we say it. If you're to write that, it's going to be rare, but if you are, you would put a dash there. The other way you might use it is to emphasize supplemental information or your little parenthetical comments. Lou Gehrig, a disease was named after him, played in 2,130 consecutive games. Again, you're very unlikely to see this. It's just sort of that squirrel kind of thing going on in writing, and because people don't write that way, you very rarely see a dash needed. The third piece of punctuation, the most important one of all here, and Jade asked me a question about this earlier this week, is the semicolon. She asked, is a semicolon just basically a period? Can you use them the same way? Yeah, technically you can. So what a semicolon does is it separates 2 main sentences. I've given you a sentence right here. Johnny Lawrence is the hero of Cobra Kai. And then I've given you another one. He won the All-Valley Karate Tournament in 1983. You can see I've separated them with a period. That's what most people do. That's what normal people do. You can do this. You can get rid of that period, throw a little semicolon there. But if you do that, you have to get rid of the capital letter. There would never be a capital letter following a semicolon. The thing with this is, though, it's kind of pretentious looking. If a period's going to get the job done, you're going to just want to leave it as a period. You're going to want to leave that I in Cobra Kai too. The way that you will mainly see a semicolon used, the proper way to use it, is when you have a conjunctive adverb or a little phrase like for example or something separating 2 sentences. And so I've got that here. Johnny Lawrence would have repeated as champion in 1984. However, through a series of incredibly arbitrary rules, Daniel LaRusso was gifted the trophy. So you can see the semicolon right here before that little conjunctive adverb, however, and there would be a comma after that as well. That's the only way you really see a semicolon used when someone is just trying to be a normal regular writer. So those are your tips in 5 minutes.